All right, I think we will get the show on the road here to respect everybody's time. I want to thank everybody for joining us here today online for our Boost virtual training event. Today we are talking about content is king. Screenshots aren't going to cut it anymore. We are happy to have Eat Greater Des Moines here. We have Joey, who will speak in a moment about Eat Greater Des Moines. We have a nice video here from Natasha from Turkey River Farm talking about how she uses Facebook and social media content. And then we will have Mallory Hanson close us off and talk a little bit more about the deep dive into some Facebook and Instagram and content. So to start off, my name is Josh Dansdale. If people are not aware, I work for Northeast Iowa Resource Conservation and Development. And we are here today for our Boost trainings. These are one of 8 that we are doing here over the course of the winter. We have 4 more coming up after today, so feel free to sign up for those. So you can see the different topics that will be covered on those. They will all be around a half an hour, and they all start on at noon. All right, great. And so to lead us off here, we wanted to try to keep this something similar to what we would have done pre-COVID of having these trainings would have been throughout the state, and we would have had people come and meet in person, and we would have chatted, and we would have been at some host sites and host partners. So to try to keep somewhat normal, we have Joey here from Eat Greater Des Moines, who will speak a little bit about what Eat Greater Des Moines does and what they do. So thanks, Joey.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we can do this virtually. Well, my name is Joey Probst, and I'm the Communications and Outreach Manager at Eat Greater Des Moines. We're a central Iowa-based nonprofit that focuses on the food system. And we all know food system is very, very broad, so that looks a little different. We work with local gardens. We do a lot with food rescue and food recovery, and then also helping to support our local farmers markets. So I would say that since I began almost 2 years ago now, we started especially supporting the local farmers markets through the Double Up Food Bucks program. And so I was actually hired on as a contractor to kind of coordinate and help promote that program. And in doing that, was able to go explore all of the different local farmers markets we have in Des Moines. And so that kind of transitioned for me into making sure that we were talking about it and promoting those farmers markets through our social media channels. So we actually started doing a monthly, or actually it was a weekly newsletter when I first started that helped promote the different markets throughout the market season. And we then transitioned into this year, of course, with everything a little bit crazy. We usually do a market listing since there are so many in the metro that has dates, times, and then we transitioned to that online this year. So it was all virtual on our website. And then we still tried to promote and make sure people knew which ones were open and tried to keep very up to date on that because it was crazy. I'm sure all of you had your own challenges and struggles with that too. Yeah, so that's a little bit about Eat Greater Des Moines and how we try and help support our local farmers markets. And I'm very excited to hear about the rest of this good info.
Perfect. Thank you, Joey. And if you haven't yet, I encourage everyone to check out the Eat Greater Des Moines website and seeing what they're doing. They're doing a lot of great stuff down in the Des Moines area. So thank you, Joey. All right. And now we will hop into the content section with Turkey River Farm interview with Natasha.
Our farm is Turkey River Farm. We're in Elkport, which is just kind of between Elkader and Guttenberg in Clayton County. This is the end of our 5th growing season here. We do vegetables, all direct market to customers, and we raise hogs on pasture. And then we also have done maple syrup in the past. And then we have other small things too, like we raise a couple dozen Thanksgiving turkeys and have culinary mushrooms. So we have a couple of other irons in the fire. And the other new thing for us this past year is that we kind of swapped our maple syrup season for a plant nursery business. We bought the the greenhouse business in Elkader. So this was our first year starting plants and getting plants in and growing bedding plants, flowers, and veggies for sale. When we first started the farm, Pete and I were both coming from out of state. Like I grew up in Elkader, but Pete and I met in Montana. We were doing farm to school work in Montana, got married, decided we wanted to move closer to home and start a farm business. I guess what I'm trying to say is that we didn't start out with a really established customer base here. I had like my school teachers and childhood friends from when I was in 4th grade, but we didn't know people. We were not well connected in the community. So even though we really wanted to have a CSA farm be like the backbone of our farm business, we ended up starting mostly with farmers markets.
How does Turkey River Farm like to use Facebook, and why'd you use Facebook?
I was skeptical about its utility in a rural community where folks were maybe older or less connected to technology. And all of those preconceptions that I had about the utility of Facebook were completely wrong. I thought like, oh, we'll have to use like print media and, like advertise in the newspaper and in different publications and do flyers and stuff like that. And so like our first couple of years, we actually put a good amount of money into print advertising and doing posters and flyers. And we never did mailers or anything like that. But we really did think like we were putting emphasis on like those more print traditional advertising methods. And yeah, I don't think I realized quickly enough how effective Facebook is at reaching our customer base. So really the reason that we use it is because all of our customers are on Facebook, and I think that it's like, yes, we have an email newsletter, and that's like another way that we connect with customers. But I just think more often than not, if I send information to people in two ways, like if I send it in an email and I send it on Facebook, they're more likely to see the Facebook information and respond to it or engage with it than they are to respond and engage to something in their email. So yeah, I guess the reason that we use it is because it's an effective way of reaching our customers, and it can take as much or as little time to maintain as you want. We try to like cap it at something reasonable, and I think that that's like a good thing too.
That was going to be one of my questions too. Do you have like a set schedule that you like to keep yourself on? Do you like to keep yourself so many posts a week?
I'm going to do like about 2 posts a week, and I want, them to be like about, like maybe one about turkeys and one about vegetables and one that's just like a story or something like that. I try not to do like, I don't like to overwhelm people with content. I feel like if I get to the point where I'm like pushing posts every day, then suddenly my traction drops. So I kind of think 2 posts a week is like maybe a sweet spot. If it's obvious that you're trying to sell something, then it's like not interesting to people. But if it's like, look at this beautiful thing, or look at this happy animal, or like, listen about this thing that I'm learning right now, then the engagement is up. And that's like more of maybe like an indirect way to get to a sale or to just build relationships with customers. I think for us, having like sales goals specific from like a Facebook post or like Facebook energy is not necessarily realistic, but having a Facebook presence is leading us to establish relationships with customers and like have more sales, you have like one beautiful picture of a vegetable, but then you have like one mediocre photo of like Peter's face. Like the one that has Peter in it is like like blowing up, and the like exciting one about the vegetables that I love is like floats to the bottom. And we like don't really love like exploiting ourselves to market our vegetables either, on one side. And then on the other side, it's like, this is a family business. This is who we are and what we do. Well, and I think like it is a way that we relate to our customers, you know, like through our kids and like through being parents, and through like our value of feeding healthy, fresh food to ourselves and to our family. I don't know, to some extent, like I think communicating that through like posts and pictures and words is also, it's like important. It's an important way for people to connect to our business. And like, honestly, it's like a big part of the reason that we're farming and growing food is to do that. So like some of those things seem like really true and really important. And those like true, honest, important things often make for the best Facebook posts that customers engage with or followers engage with. Often I try to jam too many things into a post, and that's like another point at which a post will flop. I'll find myself like trying to like post 3 photos and link to like an outside website or like recipe, and also link to like our online store or something like that. And when you're trying to go that many places, that's kind of like a red flag to me that I need to pare it down, because it won't catch. Like pare it down, and like if you want to say all those things, it's fine, but like break it up into 3 different posts, or just pick the part of it that's most important.
So if you were to talk to a farmer that has Facebook but they haven't utilized it yet, how would you, I know one question I've heard is like, so how do I remember to take a post, or do you have any tip to like get it as part of your routine?
Well, most farmers that I know, at least vegetable farmers, are pretty curious and like lifelong learners. And like I think that's great. Like I think that actually like works with social media like just fine if you can just like get into your curious learning place and just like think about your customers as like also being curious learners, and interested in process, and kind of use that as an inspiration.
When you do take photos of videos, what's your, do you have special equipment?
I'm usually really happy with the photos that I can get with the iPhone. If I'm planning to do a post or take a photo, I try to do it like earlier in the morning or a little bit later in the afternoon. We also have like just a white pop-up canopy that like if you put stuff under it and it's a little bit sunny out, it gives like a nice diffuse light. So it's a good area for just like snapping product photos or whatever. Yeah, I try whenever I can avoid doing photos with like really, really strong direct sun. I find that I have better results. I think everybody knows there's that like golden glowy hour at the end of the day that's like prime for photos. You can get a hold of us on Facebook. Just send us a message. Or you can send me an email. My email is my first name, Natasha, Natasha, period, Hegmann, Hegmann, @gmail.com. And our phone number, home phone at the farm, is 563-245-1006. Always happy to consult on these things, especially in the winter.
Perfect. Great. And that was the little interview that we had just done last week with Natasha from Turkey River Farm. And now to go a little more deeper dive into it, we have Mallory Hanson.
Thank you, Josh. And as you're listening to this next portion, please feel free to put any questions you have in the chat. And Josh will keep an eye on that for me, and we can answer them as we go or at the end here. So it was really great hearing from Natasha. They do a great job with content, and that's really what we're going to dive into today. And don't worry about taking vigorous notes. This will be available online afterward. We'll make sure you have the presentation as well. So social media, and Natasha really talked about this right away. Will social media really work to reach your customers, especially in a rural setting? Is this really worth your time? And the answer is absolutely it will. And to prove that, there's actually about 80% of the US population using social media, even in the rural areas, us rural folk, as I put it there. So you're definitely going to reach people no matter what platform you're using. It's a great way to reach your local customers, and it really gives you a direct reach to them, especially during this challenging time when we can't be with them in person all of the time. It certainly doesn't have to be a replacement for other marketing that you're doing, and you should definitely consider supporting your local newspapers and doing print media. But social media is one of the less costly ways to market yourself, and it's very measurable, so you can see what works and what doesn't in real time. And you'll see a note here, not to put all your eggs in one basket. Social media is great, but the platforms are owned by for-profit companies. And so I always suggest that you have a separate website for your business, either for your market or for your farm. And also consider email newsletters as a great way to directly reach your customers. So don't only do social media, but it definitely should be a part of your marketing mix. So I always like to go over some of the platforms that you might want to consider, and many of you are probably already on some of these. There are hundreds of social media platforms throughout the world. We're just going to talk about what I call the big three today: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Snapchat is certainly going up there in use, and YouTube is also a social media tool, but we won't get into that as much today. So I just wanted to give you a little information about each of these to help you determine which one you might want to focus on first. Facebook is the big one. I would tell people, if you're going to pick one, do that one. It's a social profile. It's a book of faces, and users have friends and pages have followers. It's available in over 100 languages, so it's a great way to reach a lot of people really quickly. At least 68% of people that are using social media are using Facebook, so it's the most widely used platform in North America. And surprisingly to some, and to me even, it's actually very popular in the age group of 18 to 29-year-olds. It doesn't mean that it isn't popular in other age groups, but oftentimes there's this misconception that only an older demographic uses Facebook, and that just isn't true. It certainly is where you're going to reach an older demographic, but that isn't the only people that are there. So remember that as you're looking at your content. And it's about 50-50 use by male and female, relatively. And then Instagram, if you didn't know, is owned by Facebook now. It is primarily a photo sharing platform with followers. About 35% of social media users are on it. Very popular between 13 and 17-year-olds, definitely becoming more and more popular in the college age student category. Again, you're going to have a wide reach with this, though. That's just the most popular age group as of 2019. And again, 50-50 male and female use. And I made a note there about cross-posting between those two. Because Instagram is owned by Facebook, it's really seamless. So if you're going to choose two platforms, these two work really, really well together. And then we have Twitter, which is a totally different ballgame, to be completely honest. It's a microblogging platform, and it used to be really only text-based. It definitely has gone more into video and GIF and photo use, but it really is short living content. So the life of your content is very quick. So I would say in the farmer's market world, the best way to consider using Twitter would actually be to live tweet at your market. And there are other ways to use it, but just remember that your demographic is pretty different here and the expectations are different of that user group. And you can cross post from Instagram to Twitter. I would not recommend it because it will create a link to whatever photo or video you put on, and it'll just look like a link, and your followers will know that and probably won't be very interested in that content. So that's a really fast overview of the big three. So to really get into the nitty-gritty of this and talk about content itself, we'll talk about text, photos, videos, all that good stuff. So the real key here is variety and quality. You'll see to the left here, this came up in Natasha's video as well. Here's an example of a post from Turkey River Farm. It has a kitty cat in it, which believe it or not, pets and kids included in posts tend to create the biggest engagement and the most reach. It's a really fun way to pull your customers in and show that you're being genuine about what you're including in that post. And that really is the key to keeping your followers and your customers engaged. So to talk a little bit about each kind of content, photos just are necessary. You can do just text for posts, but I wouldn't recommend it. People aren't likely to stop and look at that. It's not engaging, it's not interesting. So you really, really need to include photos in that content. I think Natasha noted that some of her posts with Peter in them tend to get the most attention. So that really gets at that genuine quality in your content. And as you're thinking about photos, just remember they don't have to be fancy. We'll talk a little bit later about how to do that really easily. You don't have to have a fancy camera. It can be very simple. Just focus on your product or your farm or the market. And if possible, consider including people in that post. Remembering that if you do that, make sure you have permission to do so and to use them. And if they are in a photo and are on social media, don't forget to tag them. And videos are really fun. It's a really fun way to engage people. You can do live videos on Facebook, or you can create videos on your phone. Remember, it doesn't have to be crazy fancy. It can really just be a few seconds long just to talk about the day or feature a product of that day. You may notice that sometimes when you post a video on Facebook, it will let you know that it should be at least 3 minutes long. That has to do with the Facebook algorithm, but remember that most people really are not going to engage with a 3-minute long video. And I'll get to that in just a minute. So again, photos are important, but don't forget text, especially when you're looking at Facebook. It's a big piece to Facebook's algorithm. So I wouldn't recommend only posting a photo, but remember to include some kind of text in that post, because that's how people will find your content when they're searching for things. They aren't going to find photos in their search words, but don't go overboard. People have a really, really short attention span. And that's really getting at this 3:33 rule that I noted at the bottom of this slide. That's actually an interpretive term, but remember that the majority of people are probably going to pay attention to your content for about 3 seconds. It doesn't sound very long, but we're scrolling and we're scrolling and we're scrolling. So that's a very short amount of time. So make sure what you have to say is engaging and you get to the point quickly. Some people are going to take about 30 seconds to look at content, and if they're really interested in it, they'll take that amount of time to do that. And then the really, really special group of people will spend up to 3 minutes looking at something or watching a video, but a very small amount. So remember, as you're posting, and Natasha got at this too, to keep it simple. And if you have a lot of content, try and break it up into multiple posts so you're not expecting people to read a book. An important piece that a lot of people forget as they're working on their social media profiles are their about info. You as a page manager or an account manager aren't often looking at it from the customer and follower perspective. So it's really easy to forget about these things, but they are the most important piece to your account. And here's just a few examples of the important pieces on the Facebook's mobile side of things. Your cover photo is incredibly important, and it needs to be eye-catching. If you have the ability to brand that photo into something, that's a great idea. Make sure that your location of your market or your farm or your store is accurate, and is actually accurate on the map as well. Double check that, and make sure that your logo is your profile picture. If you have a logo, that's really where your brand is going to show up everywhere you interact. And then also, just if you have a website, phone number, make sure those are on there and they're accurate. Make sure that your hours are there if they're applicable to you as well. It sounds simple, but a lot of people forget this piece. And here's just a few other kind of tips and tricks for you. The cover photo is also a great way to feature when your market date is. Grinnell did a great job of this here in their cover photo. It's bright, it's eye-catching, you see it right away. Again, that logo in the profile is important, and also making sure that that fits in that profile circle is important. Again, location. Make sure that you're responding to your customers' messages and their comments. And then if you have other social media platforms such as Instagram, make sure that that is included in your Facebook account as well, and vice versa with Instagram to Facebook and Twitter, etc. So Natasha talked about this a little bit, and this is a question we get a lot about post frequency. How often should I do it? How do you remember? And honestly, there's no real right or wrong answer. What I often tell people is 3 times per week is ideal. Natasha said she does 2. That's great. The rule I like to go with is 1 post per day is certainly ideal, and 2 per day is too many. So don't overwhelm your customers, and don't post something just to do it. Make sure that you're being thoughtful about what you're posting and why you're posting that day. You don't want to overwhelm them and oversell yourself on social media, or people could get tired of it. But at the same time, if you don't post often enough, it will look like you aren't active and people may unfollow your page. So that's why I like to say 3 times per week is a great standard to set yourself to. And here's just an example I put together of a potential schedule that you could put yourself on for a week. Tuesday night, you could post about the farmers market that's coming up that weekend. Wednesday morning, maybe you feature a vendor or a product of the week or ingredient of the month, and skip the post on Thursday, and then Friday send a little reminder about the farmers market coming up that weekend. Just something to kind of give you an idea about how to do it. Or if you're kind of an on-the-fly person like I am, that's okay too. You don't have to be overly planned out, but just have an idea in your mind of how you want to do things. And just a little tip here, and remember this will be in the slides that you can access later. Here's a schedule of Facebook global engagement times during the week. It's pretty interesting stuff. When I first looked at this, I thought, really? But if you think about it, some of that heavy engagement is really in that Wednesday, Thursday time frame. And that's, if you think about it, when everybody's kind of getting tired of the work week. It's around lunchtime. They're thinking about their weekend. So they're on social media. They're on Facebook kind of looking around, trying to see what's going on. So that surprised me. I actually thought that the evening may be a better time, but it's really not. So keep this in mind as you're doing your posts and scheduling them out, that you might want to hit these times when people are most active on there. And there are schedules like this for Instagram and Twitter as well that we would be happy to share with you if you're interested. And our contact information will be at the end if you want to see some of those things. But this comes from Sprout Social. If you want to look yourself, it's a really handy website that tells you all about the current engagement on social media platforms. So to get into the nitty-gritty about how to do good photos, how to make your photos pop, how to make videos, it really is pretty simple, and Natasha talked about this. Use your phone. If you've got a smartphone, it's a great tool. If you've got a camera, that's great, but smartphones, it's all there. You can post straight from there. It's very simple. This is just an example of Natasha's turnip carving, right, Josh? Turnips, that she did just a little quick video with her phone, and you can see that right there, and it got a lot of attention. It's really cool. And Natasha noted taking pictures in the morning or early evening are the best times outdoors to get good lighting, so you don't have to set up a studio or anything like that. And some apps that I really love to use personally are the Layout app and Snapseed. They're both really easy to use. They're free. And the layout app can help you put up to 9 photos into a nice collage for you very quickly. And Snapseed actually has some really high-level editing tools in it that you can do straight from your phone. Or if you're on Instagram, they've got some great little editing tools right in there too. So you don't have to spend a lot of time playing around with it. Remember, just keep it genuine. So just to kind of close out with some main takeaways for you, remember, be genuine. You know, social media is about personal relationships. So be yourself. If you're willing, share your personal experiences. Natasha talked about this. Sharing information about their kids and about their lives is a great tool to help bring their customers into their personal lives. And really that'll create lifelong customers for you. Photos don't have to be fancy. Use text sparingly. Remember that free 33 rule, 3 seconds, 30 seconds, 3 minutes. And keep videos simple. They don't have to be long. Try for 2 to 3 posts per week. And remember that social media is a way that you can have a conversation with your customers and your followers. So remember that it's really a two-way relationship for you to have direct contact with them. With that said, I hope Josh can let me know if there's any questions in the chat, or if anybody wants to throw some in now, we can answer them.
Great, Melanie. Yep, we had one question here. What do you think about outside links, like example to websites, Etsy store, and what's the best way to go about it? Is it in a post?
Oh, that's a great question. I know there's some options in your About section to link to certain websites. So there's some people I know that have Etsy stores, for example, and they use that website section on Facebook or Instagram to link directly to their store. I think that's a great way to do it. I know Facebook also has some opportunity now to create a store within Facebook. That's certainly an option. I think you definitely want to promote that in some posts on a regular basis. But remember what Natasha said, that if you're only constantly selling something, that people will get tired of that. So remember too, just to talk about yourself and about your product, and really use that About section to your advantage to make sure that you're leading people to the places you want them to go.
Great. Thank you, Mallory. And again, if you had other questions, here's all the contact information for Mallory, myself, and our partners on the project, Jake and Julia from Iowa Valley RC&D. And if you needed those. Otherwise, again, a friendly reminder for the upcoming trainings. There are 4 more to go on a variety of different topics around Facebook. And final reminder of, we have an upcoming social media boost program, coaching program for farmers market managers and farmers market vendors. And the application will be coming out shortly for the shortened, abbreviated version that will take place this winter. And then we will have the longer full season coaching program that will take place this summer. So we encourage you to pass that along to any interested market managers or vendors that would be looking to increase their participation and reach in Facebook and Instagram and just all social media outlets. And yep, this project was brought to us by the Farmers Market Promotion Program grant that was received from the USDA AMS program, and we are working with Iowa Valley RC&D and ourselves at Northeast Iowa RC&D up in Postville. We're all 501c3 nonprofits working in specific regions in Iowa. And let's see if I can remember our poll. We have a poll that we'll do just for all those. If you could take it for attending the training today, that would be fantastic. And again, if you had any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us, or if you wanted to reach out to Natasha to ask her about her farm and some of the efforts that they're doing there. And eGreater Des Moines with Joey, we will have all that contact information on this presentation, which will then be posted online once the training is complete.